Leader Sir Keir Starmer has threatened to bring about a vote of no confidence in the Prime Minister unless he leaves office immediately. Now he's resigned.
Yeah, it comes, as Boris Johnson said yesterday, that he intends to stay on in his post until a replacement is found. Joining us now is Deputy Labour Leader Angela Rayner. Good morning to you, Ms Rayner. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. So can you explain why the time frame that the Tories are currently going to take isn't quick enough for Labour?
Well, we can't stomach another minute of Boris Johnson. He's been proven as a liar and a cheat. He's engulfed in sleaze. The rumour is that he wants to stay on so he can have a party at Chequers. That is just completely extraordinary that he thinks that's acceptable. And we can't limp on for the next couple of months with a Prime Minister who hasn't even got the support and confidence of his own cabinet, let alone the rest of his MPs. And the country knows that we need that change and we need it immediately.
So not unusual, though, is it, to have someone to have to stay there? He's resigned, he's gone. Theresa May, it was 2 months that she had to stay around till they eventually got a new leader. What else would be the proposal, in your view?
Well, at the moment, you see, it's unusual that we've got a Prime Minister who even this week has admitted after months of trying to dodge the question that he met with a former KGB spy without any of his aides with him at the time. So, you know, he's a national security risk. He's somebody that has been proven to lie to the British public and to try and continue to limp on in office, not because he wants to do the right thing by the British people, but because he wants to do the right thing by himself. So the Conservative Party really do need to get their act together and dispose of this Prime Minister now and put an interim leader in place so that we can continue the role of, you know, supporting the British people. And we haven't seen that for the last couple of months. The cost of living crisis has got worse and the Prime Minister has just been literally trying to save his own neck over the last few months.
Are you concerned that you would launch this vote of no confidence but actually then might not win it and that the Tories would rally round behind the government just to prove a point?
I'm not concerned about that, but, you know, make no mistakes, if the Conservatives prop up this Prime Minister, I don't think they'll ever be forgiven by the British public. They're very angered by what the Prime Minister has done. You know, he has time and time again been proven that he cannot govern in the interests of the public. So for them to continue to prop him up would be, you know, I think it would be an act that would see the Conservative Party out of power for a very long time. You know, they should have done the right thing by now. Many of the Cabinet are complicit and, you know, people have resigned this week, but quite frankly, they've known what the Prime Minister has been up to and they've continued to prop him up over the last few months. So they really do need to get their house in order because the British public have had enough now.
One of those names who's ruled themselves out of being Prime Minister, so therefore is being looked at as a possible caretaker, is Dominic Raab. We haven't spoken to you since Winkgate, since that famous wink. How would you feel if he was the caretaker Prime Minister?
Well, if he was, he needs to brush up on his wink and then his rebuttal afterwards. I mean, it was a bit weird, wasn't it? I think the whole public was a bit ew. I do think, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, we need a Prime Minister who hasn't lied to the British public and hasn't been engulfed in the sleaze and the scandal that this Prime Minister has been involved in. And as I say, you know, the latest revelations this week regarding his secret meeting with a former KGB spy, to me, is an issue of national security. And he is a danger to our country and he cannot continue any longer. So the Conservative Party really do need to up their game and get rid of Boris Johnson because the public won't forgive them if they continue to think they can laugh at them by continuing, especially when Boris Johnson has said that he wants to, you know, the rumour is that he wants to stay there so he can have a wedding reception at his grace and favour place in Chequers.
But we know, we don't know the sort of the how true that is. And equally, that could have been set up months ago as a party. But we understand what your point you're saying. There is a question about severance pay for some of these ministers who have come out of their jobs. Apparently, Boris Johnson and the ministers are entitled to over £420,000 worth of severance pay. Michelle Donnellan, who quit as Education Secretary after just 2 days in the role, said that her resignation payout, in theory, could be £17,000 just for 2 days. She said that if that is the case, she doesn't know that it is, she would donate it to charity. What do you think of the idea of severance pay for some of these ministers and some of these people that have been in the job for a relatively short space of time?
I think the British public will see it as outrageous that people who have been in the job for 36 hours can be given thousands of pounds in severance. I mean, if you look at most people who are working today in Britain, they're on very insecure work. They are on 0-hour contracts. They get fired and rehired under this government and don't have the luxury of being given payouts if they find themselves in a position of losing their job. And therefore, they will be really angered by the fact that ministers who have been there 5 seconds think they can get thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money. And, you know, it's not about giving it to charity. It's about this is money that is, you know, part of the civil service and is needed to run our country and govern our country. So people will be angered by that, and I understand their anger.
Now, you don't want Boris Johnson. I'm assuming you do want Keir Starmer as the next Prime Minister. Yesterday, he was pictured at Wimbledon having a lovely time. I'm sure that was in the diary for a long time too. Was it wise, though, for him to be doing that as the government was imploding?
I think it was actually, you know, because Keir Starmer was in Parliament all day yesterday. You saw him on the TV screens. He did many interviews. And I think it's right that he shows, you know, I was criticised for going to the opera. Why shouldn't we celebrate our arts, our sports and our culture in this country? It brings a big economic boost to our country as well. And Keir Starmer's showing that actually he's getting on with the job. He can show his face in public and be proud of it.
Sorry, Angela, but that isn't how people are seeing it, is it? It looks like he's not in there tackling what people are worried about. He's having fun. That's the criticism.
I disagree with that, because if you look at the interviews yesterday, Keir Starmer spoke to the British public yesterday. He put forward what Labour's plans were for our economy, because we've had 12 years of stagnation under the Conservatives. We've got a cost of living crisis. Labour has put forward our plan on how we'd solve those problems. And Keir Starmer is entitled to go and, you know, have, you know, events as well outside of, you know, doing TV interviews. I don't think the British public will see that as somehow he's not doing the job. I think, quite frankly, he's been shown to be doing the job. And this idea that politicians, you know, are not able to do those things as well is that most people in this country realise that you can do your day job and do it incredibly well as have a social life and see your wife occasionally. I think it's quite appropriate for Keir to do that and to celebrate Wimbledon and the economic benefits that brings to this country as well, I think is the right thing to do. You know, he was on the TV screens, he was in work yesterday, I spoke to him yesterday, and, you know, he's doing the job of opposition and the government in waiting, and he's doing a better job of proving that he would be a better Prime Minister than the one we've got. OK. Angela Rayner, appreciate you joining us this morning. Thank you. Thank you. It's that game, set and match, Angela Rayner.
Game, set and match, Angela Rayner. Yeah.
Certainly looked like he was enjoying himself. And why wouldn't you enjoy yourself being at Wimbledon? It's a very exciting time to be there. Come on, Cameron.